Hello and welcome to Season 1, Staying Relevant with the Masterly. I'm Meenal Desai, and here on Musings of a Masterly, I share a medley of my unique experiences shaped by students, teachers, parents, and life in general. And in this season, I'm going to share my experiences that keep me relevant in these unprecedented times. And I hope I help all of us to stay relevant and to keep moving. So, without much ado, let's get this party started. In today's episode, we're going to talk about something wonderful. I'm going to share my key takeaways from a fantastic series that I have seen lately. Believe me, all of you should watch it if you haven't already. It's about this chess prodigy who is an orphan and who takes the world by storm. Yes, I'm talking about Queen's Gambit on Netflix. But let me tell you, I'm not here to review it. I'm not here to tell you about its cinematography and what worked and what didn't work in the series. I am here to share my key takeaways, my idea of what Queen's Gambit means to us as an adult, as an individual, as a parent, as a caretaker, and as a student of life. So, Queen's Gambit, that released on Netflix in October, stars Anna Taylor-Joy and is based on a book called Queen's Gambit by Walter Tevis. Yes, to many of us who thought that this is an original story and a true story, unfortunately it is not. It's an absolute fictional character. A beautifully made one, but totally fictional. But you know what? Fiction is always inspired from reality. A lot of people also say that the character of Beth Harmon, the protagonist in the series, is based on Bobby Fischer, a real life chess player. The first thing that I learned from the series is that teachers are everywhere. So the series stars this small little child, 9-year-old girl called Beth Harmon, whose mother is no more and who's in an orphanage and who really is not liking the space. One fine day, her teacher sends her to the basement to clean the dusters. You know the dusters, chalk dusters, and she's there to clean it. When she's cleaning it, she sees the janitor, the janitor, who was playing chess by himself. So he was playing both the sides. And she's intrigued by this. She wonders what this game is and what he's doing. She asks him a few things. He's curt and does not reply. But she's persistent, comes back. And then Mr. Scheibel, the janitor, realizes that this girl is really keen about knowing what chess is. Slowly, steadily, he starts to tutor her. And he tutors her to an extent that she is able to play people twice her age and beat a dozen of them simultaneously. He did not intend to be a teacher. He did not have Beth as a student, as a disciple. But he ended up inspiring somebody to be a world champion. Teachers are everywhere and they come in all forms and they come in all shapes. People you never thought could inspire you to do something could be the ones who leave the biggest mark on you. So that is my key takeaway. I'm never ever undermining somebody's impact on my character. My second key takeaway was that we all need to take care of our mental health. Believe me, once you see those characters up close, especially Beth's mother, both the biological mother and the adopted one, you will realize that genius, while it is important, cannot balance itself. Somebody who is not emotionally intelligent, somebody who does not have the capacity to hold relationships, ends up in deep, deep trouble. Up to an extent that when Beth was 9, her mother, when she was left all alone, had no means, was a brilliant maths PhD holder, but could not take life. She chose to kill herself in a car accident with Beth in the car. Somehow Beth survived and we get the story that we do. But that leaves a deep impact on that 9-year-old. That girl, all her life, is unable to trust anyone else. She has a slew of relationships that fail because every time somebody came close and somebody became too dear to her, she fretted. She wanted to walk out. Mental health, while not seemingly as important as the physical health, plays a huge role in our success and failure. A failed marriage of Mrs. Wheatley leads her to her death. And Beth, that small little sliver of hope that she had built with the adopted mother, Alma, it dies there. And it sends her back to the tranquilizers. It sends her back to depend on something that she shouldn't be depending on. Honestly, I think if there is one area that all of us need to focus on is taking care of our own mental health and that of our loved ones, especially children. We in India are born to believe that वो तो सब ठीक ही है, there's no problem with that. That as long as somebody is not mentally deranged, that person does not need help. But believe me, once in a while, all of us do. Our children do as well. Maybe that help is just a listening ear. Maybe that help is just a hug. Maybe that help is a walk down a garden with all of them. But all of us need love. All of us need help. And my third key takeaway from this amazing series is resilience. Yes, so many of us believe that genius is inborn. That Beth was a prodigy and hence she could win all the tournaments that came across her way. But if you look for the signs, Beth was an extremely resilient and an extremely dedicated person. Throughout the series, you will find her with a book, reading about different strategies, reading about his or her play. And up to an extent that mentally she would constantly be playing different games. Never ever was she free from her game. She was consummated by it to an extent that she knew each and every opponent's past games. She had studied them in depth. And that is what led to her genius. Genius is 99% perspiration and 1% luck. It is not the opposite. A lot of people believe it to be that. And especially when you see series like Queen's Gambit, you tend to believe that, oh my God, if only I had that sort of genius, or if only my child had been that. But it doesn't work that way. It requires a lot of effort that most of us are not ready to put up. And on that front of resilience, today I have with us a guest, an amazing person who will not just talk about Queen's Gambit, but will also share with us her story of what is it to be a chess player, who has won medals, gold medals, silver medals at under 10, under 12, under 16, under 18, and also holds a Limca record for playing 150 rated chess players simultaneously. Yes, I present to you Dhyani Dave. Ta-da! We are going to talk to Dhyani about a lot of things, and we are going to talk about what is it to be a chess player in the real life. Beginning with you, Dhyani. Could you tell me a little bit about yourself, what has been your background, and what brings you to chess?
So I started playing chess when I was like 6.5 years old. I was accompanying my sister for a competition that she was playing. She was playing the national under 18 competition, and it was held in Bikaner. So I used to harass my sister a lot during the tournament, as I was just 6.5 years old and she's 7 years elder to me. So like I irritated her to the core that she told my mother that either she stays here or I'll just stop playing. I'll not play. So my mother went and requested the organizer, sir, please let my younger daughter play. She doesn't know anything about chess. She barely knows how to play the pieces. It's going to be absolutely an advantageous situation for your players because everybody will get a free point against her because she doesn't know how to play. So my mother just requested the organizer and made me sit to play the tournament. And that is how I actually started playing. With zero knowledge of chess, I began playing chess. So
And
it
you
is,
began it at the national level.
yes, directly at
Wow.
the national level. So you can say basically that chess chose me. I never chose chess. So
Alright.
I was maybe destined to play chess, and that's how I started playing chess. But I had an extra factor, probably the X factor, as they say, that as soon as I started playing, I actually started getting good results immediately.
Okay.
Like within 6 months of playing, I was already a state champion in my level.
Oh,
So
wow.
maybe that was an X factor, maybe I was blessed. So yes, I really feel very very connected to the place Bikaner, because that's where I actually began my journey of chess, and that is where I got my first international medal at the age of 10.
Alright.
The very same place.
Okay.
So chess basically has chosen me, and all these years I have given a lot of efforts and hard work to be where I am. So
Absolutely.
at a first glance, when you look at a sports person, any sports person, it looks like a very easy journey, but the hard work that is required
That goes
to
behind
reach
it,
there,
yes.
it is crazy. It is crazy. As a child, I used to work 8 to 9 hours a day on chess.
Wow.
My schedule used to be morning 9 o'clock to 1 o'clock. I used to have my chess class. From 1 to 3 was my break, and 3 o'clock to 7:30, 8 o'clock again I used to have my chess class. My coaches used to come from different parts of India, different parts of Ahmedabad, and we used to learn. So it has been, a journey with a lot of hard work, and that is why I am who I am.
I'm sure. I don't think any successful player's journey is any different. I think hard work is the hallmark, is the cornerstone of any success anywhere in life. And what you mentioned is so true, that when we see an established player, or when we see somebody who is at the top of their game, we believe that it's so easy. It's like assuming that this must be coming very naturally, but it rarely does. So Dhyani, I'm sure you've seen the series Queen's Gambit. You have experienced it at a different level than we have. So what is your take on it, and what do you think is working in the series, and what is it that's not working?
Well, the series actually shows the life of Beth, and she started learning from a person who was a self-made person, so that we can see Beth's journey. It has been showcased in a way which, like a journey with ups and downs, like any other series or like any other Bollywood movie. They've not just clearly shown a graph going up.
Absolutely
Okay,
not.
they have actually shown the real thing that happens in a player's life, the real issues that come up, the real politics that other players play against you. So basically, I would like to tell viewers the meaning of gambit in chess.
True.
Okay,
Please.
gambit is when you give up an extra pawn for a lot of attack. You are giving up something to get something in future.
Okay.
That is what is called a gambit. You give up a pawn and you get such immense amount of activity for your other pieces, which would gradually lead to a checkmate. So
Okay.
that is what is a gambit.
Gambit.
So that is how it is related to the story of Harman, that she is giving up on a lot of things, but in the end she is getting. Like for example, in the series, she had to give up on all the pills and everything that she was
Absolutely.
taking. So and after that, she reached where
she
she
did.
reached.
And it's a story of courage and perspiration and of dedication, and it's something that all of us must watch. Tell me a few traits that you have in common with Beth Harmon, the fictional character.
Okay, so Beth Harmon and I have only one, common trait, and that is the willpower. I possess a very strong willpower, which is actually very difficult for any person to pull me down. Just same like Harmon, she had faced many losses,
Absolutely.
but even after losing, she decided to fight back. She decided to, work harder. She decided to, defeat all the odds and come out as a champion. So that is something which is a trait of a very strong person.
Absolutely.
And usually a champion is a person who is very strong both mentally and emotionally. And in order to have that trait strong, you need to have a very strong willpower. So
Absolutely.
yes, I would certainly say that I possess a very similar willpower as Beth.
Wow, I'm so glad to hear that. Out of all these multiple and numerous games that you played in dozens of countries and in so many places, which is one game that you remember the most, and why?
There's one game, okay. There are actually two instances. One is in which I won the game, I drew the game, and another one is where I lost the game. I would actually like to talk about the loss.
Okay.
Yeah, so I was playing a competition in Spain. Spain is actually my favorite place for playing competitions. I have spent like months and months in Spain.
Okay.
So I was playing that competition, and it was very important for me to get a draw in that game. Because if I would get a draw in that game, I would become a woman international master then and there. And that was probably my last tournament of the entire trip. Okay. So and luckily I was playing against a friend of mine.
Okay.
So I was like so happy. Wow, I'm playing against my friend. Should be easy for me to make the game in a draw, because that play, I know you since like you were 5 years old. You and I were 5 years old. We are such great friends. But in the game of chess, you never know what can go wrong. I lost the game.
Okay.
Yeah, I lost the game. I came out, I still remember, I still have that glimpse. It was in 2012. I came out and there were benches on the road. I sat there and I cried.
Of course.
Like I told my mother, please don't come. I cried. And that's when a friend of mine, another friend of mine, he came and sat beside me and he told me, it's okay to lose. It's absolutely fine to lose. But what is not okay is you not showing up for the game tomorrow and you not playing it properly. That is something that would be wrong. It is a game and anything can happen. He motivated me so much that I decided, okay, I'm going to extend my trip. I'm going to play a few more tournaments. I am going to complete my Women International Master title in this very trip.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I extended my stay by 15 days. Played next tournament. And in the next tournament, with 2 rounds remaining, okay, I made my norm. With 2 more rounds remaining. So, that game, that loss that I suffered is actually responsible for a quick result that I got. Because I was very much saddened by that loss. At the same time, I wanted to show the world that I can do it.
Okay.
So, yes, that game I can never forget. And the second game. So I was 14 years old and this competition was the Asian Championship, which was held in Delhi.
Okay.
So I was again playing with a friend of mine. Again a childhood friend. And we've spent like a lot of time together. And now the situation was that if I win the game, this is what my mother had told me, okay? If I win the game, I'll be the champion.
Okay.
If I draw the game, I'll be second. And if I lose the game, I'll be out of the top 3.
Okay.
My mother had clearly told me that this is the situation, you decide what you want to do. So I was like, of course I'm going to play for a win. I am going to win the game. No matter what happens, I'll win. I am actually a very aggressive person on the board. So I went on to play and I was so overconfident that day that immediately in the first 10 moves, I got into losing position.
Oh God.
I was like devastated that now I'm going to lose. I'm going to be out of the championship. I'm not going to get a medal. And what am I going to do? So then I, put a lot of pressure on my head. No, you have to do it. You have to do it. And I managed to get a draw in the game after like a play of 6 hours. Yes, 6 hours. Yes. So the game went on and on and on. We were the last people remaining who were, who hadn't finished the game. So the prize distribution was at 4 o'clock and we finished our game at 3:30. So we immediately rushed to the hotel room. I had to change and actually I was crying all the way. I was like, I drew the game. I could have come first. But I still didn't know which position I was on. So I came back to the hotel, quickly changed, went back to the tournament hall. And I saw there were 3 chairs. One for the first champion, then for the second and then for the third. I saw on the second and third, both the chairs were occupied. So again, I was devastated. I was like, chalo, this is gone. I am not even after a draw, I'm not even in the top 3. And that is when my mother told me, I actually didn't tell you the truth. Even with a draw, you would be a champion.
Wow.
So she told me, I didn't tell you because I wanted you to play for a win, not to play for a draw. So usually that is what the coaches say. Play for a win and you may get a draw. But if you play for a draw, you might just lose the game.
True.
So that is that game. These two games that I said I can never forget because they have left a deep mark in my heart.
So nice of you to share that. And come to think of it, my dear listeners, that when we ask her to share about the games that she remembers the most, she wants to share the ones in which she's been devastated, she's gone down and under and then come up. In one, not only were her nerves tested, but her tenacity, her capacity to believe in her family, to have friends who surround you, all of that comes into play. A champion, I don't think, is ever just by herself or himself. A champion, just like Beth Harmon in Queen's Gambit, needs a host of people to be around her. Wouldn't you agree?
Definitely. Beth had a full family of her friends around her. Yeah, all of them were analyzing the games for her. In the last game that she played, all of them told her to play in a certain way. Yeah, so you definitely need correct people around you to actually proceed, because there are a lot of people who will pull you down at certain points
who
of
might
time.
Just misguide.
Yes. There are a lot of people who tell you, okay, there is a game tomorrow, doesn't matter, let's go out for dinner. The right friends will tell you, sit and practice.
With that, we would want to come to a close of this episode. And I would want to thank you, Dhyani, profusely for sharing your time, energy, and this wisdom of what is it to be a chess player. I'm so proud to have you in Ahmedabad in Gujarat and as a part of our city. Alright, with that, we come to a close of this. I hope I have intrigued you to take up Queen's Gambit, and I would love to know more about how you view it and what are your key takeaways. I would also want to know about where have you found your teachers. Have you found them in a basement? Have you found them on a bus? Have you found them in the most unlikely corners? I'd also want to know how you take care of your mental health. How do you help others and yourself to stay relevant, happy, and healthy? And lastly, do share with me your story of resilience. I'm sure all of us at some point of time have been pushed to the wall and we have fought back. So what is your story? I'd love to know that. That is me, the Masterni, wrapping up episode 1 of Staying Relevant with Masterni. Thank you so much for being a part of this, and I'll catch you on the next episode. See you. Bye.